Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So today's video, very excited because I have the brand new foundation from Patrick Ta. This is the Patrick Ta Major Skin Hydra-Luxe Luminous Skin Perfecting Foundation for Natural Glow. I mean, he's starting to compete with Charlotte Tilbury with the names. But anyway, this is $58. It is not cheap. And it got a lot of hype when it first came out. And honestly, I really wasn't interested in it. But then I started seeing kind of reviews. So I was like, you know what, let me try it. I was actually kind of curious about it. So I'm a little late to the party, but here I am. So here is the bottle. Now I will say the bottle is absolutely stunning. It's very luxurious. The packaging alone does feel luxe. Now does it justify the $58 price tag? Probably not. But I will say I do feel like this is very, luxurious. This is like metal. This is, I think, plastic, but this is glass. So it's a really nice, bottle. Now it does show the fingerprints, as you can see. But anyway, yeah, so I'm not going to be doing a wear test today, but I did do a wear test over the weekend. I just haven't had a chance to film the before and after. And, but I did, and honestly, I gotta tell you, I'm really, really impressed with this foundation. So I did test it over 2 days, but the first day I just kind of wanted to test it because I really couldn't do a full 8 hours. And then the second day I did it, I actually, I think I have video about 8.5 and 9 hours in, but I ended up wearing it to an extra 2 hours and it didn't change. So I will show that, but let's get into the foundation. Okay, so from the website, it states a lightweight and luminous foundation with serum-inspired ingredients and a buildable medium coverage formula that boosts hydration and blurs the look of imperfections. Patrick Ta knows the secret to every look starts with foundation, so he built a base that complements your routine, infused with hydrating skincare ingredients that visibly improves elasticity and diffuse the appearance of fine lines. This formula blends beautifully with bare skin and even better with makeup. So I will say that the first time I used it, actually both times that I used it over the weekend, I used it with no primer. So I did not use any primer. I just used a good moisturizer. So the wear test and what you'll see was with no primer. However, I am going to use a primer today because I want to see how it sits well with a primer. But this is the thing that I think a lot of people aren't noticing with this foundation, because I don't think it's something that I think the average consumer maybe knows, is that this is a water-based foundation. So the first ingredient is water, which means it's water-based. I don't believe it has any silicone. So that's really important because most foundations, do have have silicone, and they're silicone based. That's going to be the first ingredient. They're silicone based, and the same thing with primers. Their first ingredient is silicone. They might have water as a second ingredient, but that means they are silicone based. So you don't put a silicone primer with a water-based foundation and vice versa. You do water, silicone, silicone. They don't mix well together. So I think a lot of people, and this is just because I've seen mixed reviews on this foundation, so I think a lot of the negative experiences where it's breaking up might be, I'm not saying is, but might be because they used a primer that wasn't compatible. So it could be also that it just didn't work for them, but I was actually surprised how well it worked for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the brand new Huda Beauty Easy Blur Primer. This is a water-based primer. The new Huda Beauty Easy Blur foundation is also a water-based foundation. This is a silicone-free water-based primer, so I am going to use this because I want to see how it sits on my face with a primer, because I didn't do that. So let's go ahead and get into trying it on. Okay, so I went ahead and put the primer on. So here is the foundation. I went with the shade 10 Neutral, and honestly, I think it's a great match. I did not go in store, I did get it online, but let's go ahead and just kind of see what it is pretty, it's got a little, watery texture, which makes sense. But like I said, I already put the primer on. There are 30 shades. So again, I'm 10 Neutral, and 10 Neutral is light with neutral undertones. So kind of just looked, I think it matched me up with something else, but I looked at the shades and I'm like, that's the one. And then I think this is a really good match. So I'm just going to show you here. And I will do half of my face so you can see the difference. And I just also filmed half of my face with my iPhone over the weekend when I had no primer, but you can see here. So I think the match is a really good match. So let's go ahead and start applying. Now I do like applying this one with a brush and then going over it with a like damp sponge after, just to kind of smooth it out. But that's the preference that I found that I liked doing over the weekend, and it really does have a beautiful finish, to the point that even my husband commented on my foundation. Now he knows what I do, but he doesn't. I think he watches my videos, but he just, so that he doesn't really actually pay attention. He just kind of does it so I get a view and I get a like. But he knows enough about the foundation. He knows enough. So he's like, oh, I like that foundation. So he really liked how it looked. So let me finish up the half of the face and I'll come back. Okay, so here is the foundation on half my face. Again, I am wearing a primer today, so you can see half the face. I think it's a beautiful coverage. It does have a little bit of a natural glow, and that's the thing I would say, is that it is very much a natural glow. So here is some footage of me over the weekend when I had half the face, and this was my iPhone, so no lighting, it's just natural light. It's in my bathroom. So again, so you can see the comparison between, no makeup on one side and the foundation on the other. So let me go ahead and put the foundation on this side and come back. Okay, so here is my full face done. And one of the things I noticed is just that it does give a beautiful natural glow. When I do set it with powder, so that does take a little bit off. But you'll see throughout the day, it wore really beautiful, and the glow doesn't get more intense. It actually doesn't really, like, even with no primer, and I think if I wanted to control the glow even more, I could. So let me go ahead and finish up my face, and I'm actually going to film another video in between, and I will come back and I will show you my wear test throughout the day and then give you my final thoughts on this foundation. Okay, so I am back. Obviously, I have done my makeup, and so let's get into my wear test. So I have been wearing this probably now about 2 hours. I did my makeup, and then I filmed and then did some parenting stuff. So wearing well. I think it wears really well with this primer. I've only been wearing the primer for a little bit of time, but if you are looking for a good water-based primer. Now this one I don't say is as blurring, but the other blurring primers that I have that kind of fill in pores are all silicone based, which would not go well with this foundation. So, but I think the glow is really nice. It's really pretty. It's a nice medium coverage, and it's wearing really well. I like it with a primer because I do think the primer is mattifying a little bit, and I like a matte foundation more than a glowy foundation. But this one I would say is not necessarily a glowy foundation. It's a natural glow, which is very different from like a dewy finish. Yeah, so far it's looking really good. Okay, so now we're gonna take a look at my footage from over the weekend when I did my wear test. I already showed you the side by side when I had it on one side and not on the other. And this is the foundation with just the foundation, no powder, no primer. That's it, just the foundation. Okay, this is right after I applied the rest of my makeup and I powdered it. So you can see the shine is pretty much gone. This is 3 hours later. So you can see it's wearing, obviously I've changed location, but it's wearing really, really well. Not too much shine either. Okay, and this is 3 hours later. So this is about 6 hours in. So you can see somewhere, but I still think it looks really natural. It looks really good. Now you can see my pores, but I'm 48, you can see my pores. And then finally, this is 3 hours later. So this is about 9 hours in. And obviously you can tell it's dark, but I think it looks really well. I have no lipstick left, but it wore really, really well and didn't break apart. And I think had a really nice natural glow. So that was my wear test over the weekend. When I tell you, and then I even wore it, like I said, I even wore it another 2 hours before I finally washed my face. And I was surprised at how well it wore. It really, really looked great throughout the day. It didn't get shinier. And again, I wasn't wearing a primer and I only set it, but I never did any other powdering, and really, really impressed. So now this foundation is $58. So it is very pricey. And I wouldn't normally spend that on a foundation, though I think it's a really, really good foundation. And if you like a natural glow with a medium finish, again, I am more of a matte finish and more of a full coverage type of girl. So for me to like this, that it is a natural finish and a medium coverage, and you know, I'm finding more and more foundations that have medium coverage that are really good foundations, I like a lot more than I think I will, because they give my face a flawless look. Maybe not completely flawless like, you know, a full coverage foundation, but you know, and then also wear really well. And so I am really excited to continue using this. This is a foundation that I wore this on, like I said, both days, Saturday and Sunday, and I was running around to my son's hockey game and taking him to his ninja class and doing all this stuff, and I didn't feel like overly made up. Like, I felt great, but I think this is a foundation also that I could wear and use it on a night out too. So anyway, I am very impressed with the foundation. I really like it. I hope to continue using it. So this isn't necessarily a first impression. This was a full, you know, true wear test. But I think the main thing is that if you are going to get this foundation, make sure you get it with the right primer. Do not make the mistake of wearing a silicone primer, because it's not going to end well. So anyway, with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.